Welcome back to CCU. I wanted to come out and play a quick 9 holes today with a bag that I kind of built up using Trilogy discs. So here's what I have. For my straight mid-range, I have a Lucid Bounty. Understable mid-range, I have a Retro Fuse. Overstable mid-range, approach disc, what have you, an Origio Harp. Understable fairway, I have a Lucid Page Pierce Convict. Straight fairway, I have a Lucid Escape. Overstable fairway, I have a Lucid Getaway. Understable distance driver, I have a Lucid Captain. Straight distance driver, I have a Goldline Ballista. And overstable distance driver, I have a Royal Grand Rive. Now, I don't have any Trilogy putters, so I'll be putting with a Duraflex P Model S. So what I wanted to do again was, I have my normal bag that I typically play with, and what I wanted to do was to come out and play around with this bag that I've kind of built up using Trilogy stuff, and just see if there are any shots that I'm missing, if there are any things that I could build up upon. This bag could potentially go out and be a tournament bag. So that's what I'm trying to do. First hole is around 240 feet. You can see the basket out there in the distance. You can see the flags as well. There isn't a whole lot of wind, but there's just enough to where it can mess with your shot a bit. So for the first hole, I'm going to throw Lucid Bounty. I will not be teeing off from inside of the mulch area because I don't want to get my shoes dirty. All right, Lucid Bounty, hole 1. Turned it over a bit, it's getting flat, sliding up. Looks like it's somewhere probably in a 10, 15 feet short range. This is one of those holes where if you happen to go long, it can get really ugly really quick. So short is always better. Well, I'm a little closer than I thought. I'm somewhere in that 10 foot range, 10, 15 foot range. Good catch by the basket. Birdie on hole 1. For me and the way that I'm throwing today, the air temperature is about 45 degrees. There's a little bit of a breeze, maybe 6 to 10 miles per hour. But for the way I'm throwing today, that bounty, just that slight slide to the right was absolutely perfect for the first hole. Hole 2, as you can see in front of you, the basket is off in the distance out there. Measures about 330 from where we stand. There's a little bit of a headwind, not a lot, but just a little bit of a headwind. So I am going to use the 2016 GBO Goldline Ballista. What I'm thinking about on this hole is there's a gap between those two trees. I have plenty of room to the left, plenty of room to the right, but that gap is kind of the sweet spot. If you can hit that gap with just a slight bit of hyzer, a little bit of a finish, it should skip up pretty close. So I'm going right at it. A little bit of turnover, a little bit too much turnover. Catches itself, swings around. Had enough skip to get me around the far trees, and so I should be, I'm guessing, about 20 feet right of the pin. Well, this is a pleasant surprise. I was expecting to be 20 or 25 right of the basket, but I'm 10 feet short right. So 2 birdies in a row, that's good. I like that Ballista for that shot because if you over torque it, if you come over on it a bit, as long as you give it enough height, it still has enough stability to come back. So as you can see, I over torqued it a little bit, got it to fly out, come around this tree, and skip right up. 2 down. All right, so sitting 2 down through 2, which is a perfect start. Hole 3 is about 180 feet. You can see it's right between those trees off in the distance. This is one of those holes where I enjoy coming out and practicing because I can force myself to throw between the trees. As a straight shot. I can force myself to go around the right with a big hyzer, around the left with a huge forehand. But it's really not that long of a hole. It's actually an ace run. So for this particular shot, I had been throwing a putter, and the putter just went a little too straight. Didn't have enough finish to actually give me a decent ace run. So for this shot, I'm gonna go straight down the middle with an Origio Harp. Okay, so I came in a little bit low. Never really gave it a decent ace run. Had plenty of power, just didn't have enough height. It skipped a few times before the hole, slid maybe 5 feet past the hole. Okay, so a little bit more than 10 feet past. I wound up being closer to 15, 18 feet past. But still should be. And it is. Woo, good thing the first putt counts and not the second. So 3 down through 3. I'm really liking that Harp. I have an A2. A2 is pretty much my approach disc of choice. But I'm really digging the Harp because it flies like a beat-in A2 or like a slightly beat-in A3. You get that finish, that always consistent finish. And this one's Origio. I mean, if I get VIP or something like that, it'll be a little bit better. But it's super easy to throw, forehand or backhand. It's predictable. I threw this one 2 feet off the ground. It came and it had enough slide to get to the basket, but didn't have so much that it's going to catch edge and roll. All right, so 3 down through 3. Hole 4, I came out about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and shot 8 down through 9 holes. Hole 4 was the only hole that I didn't birdie. So I really, really want this. And I've birdied it before, but I just didn't birdie it that day. You can see on hole 4, you can't see the basket. We have a set of short trees here. We also have a set of longer trees, and then even further than that, longer ones there. The basket is around 360, somewhere around the 360 feet mark. The best play I have found is a slightly understable driver. Up high, over the trees, let it flex and let it catch itself back up. So for this shot, I'm gonna be throwing Lucid Captain. The trick here is to get it high enough to let it have time to do what it wants to do. If you don't get it high enough, it will not work. That one really came out good. It came out, had enough ante to get where I wanted it to get. And I never saw it land, but it didn't feel like a full rip. It felt like I didn't quite catch it. So at 360 feet on this hole, I'm guessing I'm probably about 40 short. Talk about a pleasant surprise. I was thinking I was gonna be 40 short. I'm like 20 or 25 short. There are a few limbs, I don't know if you can see them in the camera. There are a few limbs here that are hanging down. So I can't throw my normal putt or can't use my normal putt. So what I'm gonna do is, I don't know, it's gonna be tough. I think I'm gonna straddle out to the right. I'm not good at straddle putting. But this will be to go 4 for 4. Oh, you gotta give it some power. You gotta give it some power. That's okay. It's gonna be an easy tap in 3. Again, my nemesis hole. The main thing is, the other day, when I came out and I shot 8 down, I was using my bag, my tournament bag, the bag that I typically play out of, which is nearly all Prodigy with some Trilogy mid-ranges. I wanted to see with this bag that I kind of threw together from stuff off the shelf, how well could I play with that bag? All right, three down through 4. I did miss hole 4, but just kind of sent one off the cage. But it makes me feel good knowing that that Captain will get there. I have a very beat-in D3, a very domey beat-in D3, Prodigy D3, that flies almost identical to that Captain. The Captain's nearly brand new. So that helps me know if I happen to need a replacement, I do have something that can be that replacement. Hole 5, as you can see way off in the distance, the basket is on the other side of the far tree. Hole 5 is one that you either need to flex a forehand and have it come in behind the tree, or throw a straight backhand that just goes flat to hyzer and comes in around the back side of the tree. I think it's somewhere in the 285, 290 foot range, something like that. The problem that you have is, let me look in the camera, on the other side of this tree here, there are really, really tall bushes. And if you happen to get it a little too much, you can flip it. And if it goes in those bushes, it's guaranteed bogey. So for this particular shot, this is where I like to throw my Lucid Escape. Aiming for the far right-hand corner, let the disc flip up to flat, glide, and then hook in the backside. I've turned it over, I pulled it a bit, but I gave it some height. Oh, that's not good. That's on the back side of those bushes. That's not gonna be really fun. That was one, there must be a little bit more headwind up there than I was thinking. That's one where I probably should have thrown the Getaway. All right, so I got pretty lucky, I'd say. The disc is sitting down in the bushes over here. Just the other day, I lost a Westside Gatekeeper in here, an Origio Gatekeeper. It was dark gray, it was the edge of dark. I threw it and couldn't find it, and I'm guessing it's still in there somewhere because I don't think other people would found it either. But I'm going to grab my Harp and see just what I can do from this really, really nasty lie. I have limbs right in front of me, so I can't go directly at it, so I'm gonna have to do a little bit of an anti-flex, but hopefully I can kind of give it a semi-run while keeping it close. Yes, I'd say that was a pretty good semi-run. Take a gander to see if I see that Gatekeeper in here while I'm here. Threw that one on Annie. That's one of the things I do like about the Harp. The A2 would have flexed out almost immediately. The Harp does have a little bit of glide, so it actually finished that Annie before it just barely missed the cage. Not that this one is going to be challenging, but I do want to show every shot. So here we have par on hole 5, which gives me 3 down through 5. I should have gotten hole 5 there, but that was certainly not the equipment. That was definitely my fault. On to hole 6. All right, hole 6 is, if you go line of flight, hole 6 is around 240. You have the straight through the trees gap, which I'm always trying to skip my mid-range or my putter off of the picnic table and kind of do a little rail grind and jump up. Haven't done it yet. You can go around the outside with a big hyzer. You can also go around the left-hand side with a big forehand, which is, considering I haven't thrown a forehand today, that's the route I'm gonna go. So this could be really ugly. For this forehand, I'm gonna use the Royal Grand Rive. What I'm looking for is something that gets out there, has a teeny bit of flex, but when it gets to its apex, it begins dumping to the right hard. So let's see. This one, I'll go from inside the tee area. First forehand of the day, so don't laugh. All right, it goes out. I had a little bit too much Annie. Yep, I went into the bushes on the left. There's a little bit of a headwind, so that probably helped some. Went into the bushes on the left. Again, that's my fault. That's probably a shot where I should have thrown the Getaway. All right, so I found my Rive. It is kind of in the middle of this junk. And getting to it's gonna be kind of tricky, but it is, let me back myself in here. It is right here. I don't know if you can see me. I cannot see the basket, but I'm gonna flick a little putter out there and hopefully get close. I heard it hit the ground, so whew, I'm guessing all is well. Course designers, don't put bushes on the course that your disc can get caught underneath. Again, in an effort to show every single shot. Hole 6, par. So I'm 3 down through 6. Two mistakes have been mine. I have to own those. All right, so I'm 3 down through 6. Hole 4, I sent one off the cage. That was pretty close, especially considering my nemesis hole. Hole 5, I overturned my drive with a backhand. Hole 6, I overturned my drive with a forehand. Hole 7, as you can see right in front of you, is one I've shot several videos from. From tee pad to basket is about 285. Pretty much wide open. The shot here seems to be flat to hyzer. Pretty much like I shot on hole 5. It's almost an exact duplicate of that. But this time, instead of going into a headwind, I'm going with a slight left to right tailwind. So for this particular hole, again, the Lucid Escape. I can probably get there with a mid-range, but why press it? I want something to skip up underneath the basket. My aim point is about 20 or 25 feet right and about 10 feet in the air. And I hit it exactly. A little bit of turnover with that escape. Enough stability and enough power, it skips in, and I'm about 4 feet, 5 feet just past the pin. Should be back on the birdie train. Nice. Like I say, I thought I was 4 or 5 feet past the pin. I'm actually closer to 10 feet past, but still no worries. Always go through your routine. Pick a chain link and fire. So I threw the escape somewhere around the 65, 70% full power. I can get there with a mid-range, but if you throw full power to get there with a mid-range, you have more of a tendency to pull it, leave it open, go early, whatever. With the fairway, it's just super smooth, super simple. Just keep your elbow and your forearm below the plane of the disc on the pull, and the disc will do all the work for you. So now we're 4 down through 7. Hole 8, off in the distance, you can see the basket is over here, is basically a copy of hole 7. It's somewhere around that 285 to 300 foot mark. But there's a little island of trees, like a bunker of trees, short right, just outside the circle. So when you look at it, the first thing you would think of is, oh, I just need to throw the same shot I threw on hole 7. But if you do, you're gonna be in that bunker of trees, and basically best case scenario, circle's edge putt. You need something that will go long enough to go past the bunker, but then be stable enough to finish in hard. Now, I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not, but just past over here is a walkway, like a gravel walking track. I play that as out of bounds. Some people do, some people don't. The basket is within 10 feet of that. So a forehand is a great option if you're sure it's going to come back. Now for me, I've thrown one forehand and it kind of over tweaked it a bit. So I'm going to go backhand. I want to go gold line ballista, something I can throw hard and flat out to the right and know and trust that it's going to have enough distance to get past the bunker of trees and then finish. That bunker of trees is, to clear it and go past, you're going to wind up having to need to throw about a 330 foot shot. The hole isn't that long, but that's the level of power you need. And I've got a headwind, so got a pretty good headwind too. So I'm going to have to start this one on a little bit of hyzer. Otherwise, it's just going to go out too far to the right. And another option is to go straight up the middle, but I'm afraid of that bunker of trees. So here we go, around the outside of those trees. Hopefully it'll have enough stability to kick back, come back to the left. I'm going to start it on a bit of hyzer. Okay, it flipped over and I pulled it. Power-wise, it's definitely enough power. I don't know if you can see it on camera. It pretty much finished net straight. It's definitely enough power, but just really not the correct shot at all. All right, so I finished up probably 45 feet or something like that. Right. Distance-wise was about right. It flexed over to the right a little bit too much. Had I thrown the rive on the same line, it wouldn't have had that flex to the right, and it would have probably been, I'm guessing, around circle's edge. But I've made longer putts. So let's see if we can keep that birdie streak alive. Again, the walkway and just beyond the pin, I do play as out of bounds. So I'm going to give this one a run, but a sensible run. Not very sensible. That's what I try to do with my putter. All right, so 1 here, 2 out, drop in 3 and drop in 4 for a bogey on a shot that I typically birdie this hole, but I typically throw either, I have a very overstable Prodigy X3 or an extremely overstable Prodigy D1 that I forehand around the side. So, who knows? All right, so I went out of bounds about right here. And there we go. Now, I don't think most players, it's not marked as out of bounds. Most players don't play it as out of bounds. I do, just so I kind of cut off the crazy wild shot, that super big shot, big forehand shot or whatever. I want to be a little bit more controlled than that. So I was 4 down through 7, OB'd here on 8. So now I'm 3 down through 8. I didn't realize on the last shot on hole 8 that I was cutting my head off with the top of the frame. Sorry about that. All right, so hole 9 is, there's bush line all down the right, so obviously that kind of cuts out the big hyzer. It's either going to be a forehand play or it's going to be a turnover shot. And the only disc that I have in my bag that I don't believe I have thrown today, I haven't thrown the convict, and I haven't thrown this retro fuse. Now it's around 225 feet, so it's not a long shot by any means, but it's a very controlled shot. You want to start at maybe 20 feet left and let the flight of the disc just bring it in, because if you go 15 feet to the right of the pin, you're in jail. So my aim point is about 20 feet left and about 10 feet up, almost to the lamp that's in the far distance. The fuse, you can see it comes up. Just go in. Ooh, that's about 15 or 20 long. The fuse basically, I threw it on a teeny bit of hyzer, it flipped up to flat, glided to the right, and kind of softly caught itself and then fell back down. I didn't throw it hard. That's one of those discs, with it being so understable, if you throw it hard, it's going to flip over and it's going to just be awful. I don't know if you can see it or not. Sitting in the basket is a cardinal. It's red. The fuse that I just threw was red. As I'm walking up, I'm looking at it going, what? What? Did the disc jump in the basket? What happened? What happened? All right, so sitting 3 down through 8, should easily be 6 down, but made some careless errors. This shot did not go 20 feet past. I am edge of circle. So, and I got a hurting left to right wind. I'm not edge of circle, I'm about 25, probably about 25 feet out. Let's see if we can't finish on a birdie. Nope, apparently I can't. Felt like a good putt. I think the wind is actually pushing it over that way. It's got to be, because I'm aiming, what is the camera is, I'm aiming on this side of the pin or the chains. And I've had 3 do the exact same thing. Yeah. So, oh well, you know, some days you've got it, some days you don't. But 3 down through 9, could easily be 6 or 7 down. When I played a couple weeks back and played with my, what I consider my tournament bag, my go-to bag, I shot 8 down through 9. So, I mean, I know it's possible. This is a bag that I don't play with very often. It's one I'll bring out here and just throw around, throw from side to side or whatever. I don't really play actual holes with it. But considering that I've given myself a look on every hole, I'm pretty happy with it. I could definitely use this bag and take it to a tournament and feel like I had every shot covered. So, quick recap. Let's see what we got in here. Final thoughts and such. Obviously, like I said, I don't have a Trilogy putter. I have the Duraflex P Model S. I think if I was going to use a Trilogy putter, I like the feel of the Warden. I think maybe it's a Marshall. I don't remember which one it is, but it's a shallower putter. I do like that. The Harp, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic, especially in this plastic. You can throw it really hard, it'll flip up to flat, glide a bit, and then finish. You can throw it soft, and it'll have a lot of stability. In my Understable Fairway, the retro fuse, love this disc. You have to be careful with it. You can't throw it very hard. You have to put it on a little bit of hyzer, let it flip up and do its thing. But as long as you're careful with your angles, with your release angles, it'll treat you right. The Bounty, supposed to be understable, and it is. It has kind of, it'll go out and kind of slide to your arm side, a little bit understable. But it'll also go straight as long as, again, you put on a little bit of hyzer, let it flip up, let it do its thing. Don't try to overpower it. Throw it hard enough to get it spinning, to get it up in the air, and then let the glide do the rest of the work. For my Understable Fairway, I didn't really get a chance to throw it. I've thrown it before. Page Pierce Convict. This one is super, super understable, very flippy. You have to really be careful with it as well. For my straight fairway, I can't tell you how many good things I could say about the Escape. Everyone loves the Escape. Great flyer, super flat. It comes out of the box, it's a little bit overstable, but you play with it a bit, it'll get a little bit beat in. Nice little bit of a turnover and then a good finish back. Dependable finish. You don't have to worry about it losing it out to the right. I did on hole 5, but that was because I let it go like this. The Getaway is an Escape with more finish. This Getaway has been played maybe 5 rounds. The Getaway still flies like a brand new Escape. The Escape, after about 5 rounds, you get that little bit of turnover and finish to where you have net straight. The Getaway, you don't get that turnover. It may flip up, but you don't get that turnover, and then you have a nice finish at the end. For the understable distance driver, the Captain, absolutely love it. Feels great, flies great. Small, slight dome to it, kind of flat, kind of domey. I feel like I could forehand this and not worry about it flipping over as long as I was careful with it. This thing flies great. If you give it enough height, even if you let it go on a little bit of an ante, if you give it enough height, it will finish. For my straight driver, Gold Line Ballista, it's perfect. It's one of the fastest discs I've ever thrown. Nice and flat, kind of feels a little bit like an X3 to me, at least. Feels like an X3, like a Prodigy X3. Has that flat, doesn't have a really deep rim, nice flat feel, super fast. And when you let it go, you can trust that it's going to fly the numbers, -1, 3. I have a retro Ballista that is a little bit more understable than this one that flies even better. So that one could be my understable, this could be my stable. And last but not least, the Royal Grand Rive. Phenomenal. Great forehand disc. It's a little bit too domey for my liking on forehand. It feels good. It flies good. It's a little too domey. I would like it to be a little flatter, almost like that Ballista, maybe a Ballista Pro, a Gold Line Ballista Pro. But it flies great. Whenever you let it go, even on hyzer, it'll kind of hold that angle. It may flip up to flat, but you don't have to worry about it going over on you. So 10 disc Trilogy bag with the exception of the putter. I can come out here and feel like I can play the exact same as I could with my tournament bag that I've been playing with for a couple years. Absolutely fantastic.